We will find you. We will find you.
Everybody should be getting beat up.
It's horrifying because, I mean, if an officer is attacked, clearly they might not know he's an officer, and that really doesn't matter. But what chance does any of the rest of us?
So Grove is now in the handcuffs of the officer he assaulted, later adding 1 under, 1 to go. Hargrove.
This Bronx NYPD officer saluted as he was wheeled out of the hospital, his eyes swollen shut.
Welcome to the Reaction Radar, where reality hit hard. A violent ambush on an NYPD officer ends with a manhunt across state lines. You won't believe where they caught him. Without any further ado, well, before we jump into this, let me advise you, this one is a little bit hard to watch. But without any further ado, let's get into it.
Start with that brutal beating of an off-duty NYPD officer. Good to be with you here at 5. I'm Gilma Avalos.
I'm Adam Cooperstein, and police now arresting one of the 2 men today in connection to that disturbing attack in the Bronx. There's surveillance video that shows what happened. Here's a look. You see the off-duty officer after he was thrown to the ground, and police say the 2 masked men there punched him, kicked him.
Folks, I want to advise you again, this is a news clip. This is pretty graphic, okay? I want to advise you.
And held a knife to his neck so they could rob him.
That attack happened Saturday at 4 in the morning in Parkchester, and today we got word that U.S. Marshals tracked down one of the 2 suspects in North Chesterfield, Virginia, just outside of Arlington. News 4's Charles Watson is live at the 45th Precinct in the Bronx with the arrest and who else police are still looking for. Charles?
Yeah, Gilma and Adam, the U.S. Marshals Regional Fugitive Task Force taking 23-year-old Tavion Hargrove into custody this morning in a suburb outside of Richmond, Virginia. Now the search turns to the second unidentified person involved in that brutal attack on an off-duty NYPD officer.
We will find you. We will find you.
Mayor Adams making good on this stern warning to the 2 suspects responsible for brutally beating an off-duty NYPD officer in the Bronx last weekend. Today, the United States Marshal Service for New York and New Jersey, with the help of NYPD officers, hunting down and arresting a bloody 23-year-old Tavion Hargrove right outside of Richmond in North Chesterfield, Virginia. Hargrove is one of 2 suspects police say are behind the robbery and assault of a 27-year-old officer at knife point on St. Peter's Avenue on the morning of May 24th. Video shows the 2 men robbed the officer of his belongings, including his registered firearm. One of the suspects kicking the officer in the face, leaving a shoe imprint and broken bones. A horrifying thought for New Yorkers we speak to.
Nobody should be getting beat up.
It's horrifying because, I mean, if an officer is attacked, clearly they might not know he's an officer, and that really doesn't matter.
Exactly.
But what chance does any of the rest of us?
Sources tell News 4 Hargrove was arrested behind a house in North Chesterfield, lying on a mattress in a garage. Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch writing in part on X, quote, "I am pleased to report Tavion Hargrove is now in the handcuffs of the officer he assaulted," later adding 1 under, 1 to go. Hargrove's father also under arrest and facing charges for allegedly trying to use the officer's stolen credit card.
All right, a couple of things there. First of all, Mayor Adams, kudos, sir. Kudos to you. You know, I didn't see any other politicians, any Congress people there, right? Again, why should they be there? These are United States citizens. This is a police officer of the United States of America. So why should any congressman be there? You know, it doesn't involve going to a different country. Maybe if this gentleman flew back to Sri Lanka, then maybe they would have went there to visit him. You know, maybe, because of course they love taking vacation trips on U.S. tax dollars. That's what they're good for. Anyway, getting off of that. Going back to this, how is it possible that a grown man, his father, comes in contact with a card, a credit card, and you're going to use it? Clearly, it doesn't have your name. It doesn't have your son's name. It has a name you don't even recognize. So how are you even using that card? You know, that father should be charged with fraudulent activity of some sort, and this is ridiculous. How do you do that? You're not going to question your child. You're not going to ask any questions. You're just going to take the card and use it. You might be an equal participant in this.
However, the father is not suspected of being involved in the assault and robbery. Neighbors
I will beg to differ. How could he not be? Because clearly you're using somebody else's card. It doesn't have your name. It doesn't have your son's name. No one named that you know. So I beg to differ on that one.
saying they hope everyone involved pays.
I think that's great that they got at least one of them. I hope to get all of them.
Yeah, and so at this juncture, police are trying to identify and track down the second person involved in the assault and robbery. The NYPD asking anyone with tips to call its Crime Stoppers hotline and tell them what you know. For now, we're live in Throgs Neck. Charles Watson, News 4 New York.
We're going to be jumping into the second one here now. Now, this is going to be the second one, the second arrest. Folks, you're not going to believe this, but why should anything shock us anymore, right?
Tonight, a second arrest was made in the brutal attack of an off-duty NYPD officer who was robbed of his gun. That officer is now recovering at home tonight. News 12's Heather Fordham is in the digital center with what we've learned so far in this investigation. Heather.
Well, Amanda, this manhunt took police to Virginia, where they arrested a second suspect today. He was found despite trying to wear a disguise to hide from investigators. Meanwhile, here at home, Officer Nypd is finally home after 5 days in the intensive care unit.
Surrounded by applause from his brothers and sisters in blue, this Bronx NYPD officer saluted as he was wheeled out of the hospital, his eyes swollen shut and the shoe print of his attacker still fresh on his cheek.
This is heartbreaking, extremely heartbreaking. Congress, where are you at? Where you at, Congress? AOC, New York, is that your district? Where you at? Where you guys at? Glen Ivy, where you at? Oh, that's right, crickets, you're sleeping. It doesn't involve you flying over somewhere else and wasting tax money, right? What's going on here? A citizen, a police officer, was assaulted and beat down. Where you at? Don't remember seeing this on news. It's amazing, isn't it?
They stomped on his head consistently, and he has a mark on his cheek, as you saw. They took his gun.
The 27-year-old officer is a rookie with the department. He was on his way home from his shift early Saturday morning when he was brutally beaten blocks from his home in Westchester Square. Surveillance video showed the two men push him to the ground, hold a knife to his neck, and rob him of his wallet, phone, and gun.
He came to this country 5 years ago from Bangladesh, and his dream was to become a New York City police officer.
The video helped police track the pair to Virginia, where they found Tavon Hargrove on Tuesday. A day later, alleged accomplice Wayne Lucas was cuffed while trying to disguise himself in a wig. Back at home in the Bronx, the officer is now on his way home to recover from a nightmare he won't forget.
The happy person always is smiling. You know, this guy is going to suffer for the rest of his life. He's traumatized. This thing is not going to go away.
Exactly. You're looking at PTSD, you know, psychologically, mentally, and who knows if this officer would even return back to duty, you know? I mean, there's so much thing that goes through this, but again, where is Congress? Where's the government? Where's the outroar? Oh, that's right, that's right. He is not an illegal. He's a legal citizen that is trying to do good for the country. What am I thinking? Forgive me. Forgive me about that.
Hargrove's father, Jeffrey, is also facing charges for using the officer's credit card after the attack. As for the two suspects that have been arrested, we are waiting to learn when they will be brought back to New York to face charges. At the Digital Center, Heather Fordham, News 12, The Bronx.
I would like to hear your comments on this. You know, this is crazy stuff. This should have never happened, but it did. You know, do you think this was justice served fast enough? You know, but again, this should have never happened. But what do you expect when you have congressional people putting their hands on law enforcement? It just gives a green light to everybody else to just attempt to do whatever they want to do. You see, this is the consequences that you guys do and make when you make these idiotic decisions, Congress. Why you sit up there and make all these idiotic comments out of your mouth. This is the end result of this, you know? But as usual, I would like to hear your thoughts. Drop them in the comment. And until we meet again, please stay informed and engage. Have a good one.